Hi, I'm G from Red Man Walking, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the process I used in order to book a 7-day itinerary using baggage transfer along the West Highland Way. If you're new to the channel, I'm G from Red Man Walking. In today's video, I'm going to take you through the process I used in order to book baggage transfer along the West Highland Way. Now, it's worth noting there are a few companies who will take your bag from place to place to place. I've chosen to use Baggage Freedom. There are a couple of others, Travel Light and AMS. I chose to use Baggage Freedom because it was the van I saw most often. That's the only reason. So I'm going to take you through the process on the wet laptop to let you see how you can book your own 7-day itinerary, or more, or less, using baggage transfer. So as I say, I've chosen to use Baggage Freedom, which is baggagefreedom.com, and when you go on there you'll see William Wallace with all the bags hanging off his arms, and below that very recognisable mountain, Buccleuch Moor, which sits in the head of Glencoe, and that deer that likes to stravage about the car park, waiting to get carrots and things from the people who come in to stay at the King's House Hotel. So, worth noting, it does say below, Feel the Freedom, that they only operate between the 22nd of March and the 19th of October this year. So if your dates are out with that, you might need to consider carrying all your stuff. Anyway, let's get on with the booking process. Now, it does say book now, but let's just go down and have a look at baggage transfers. So there is the option of 1 to 3 stops, 4 to 7 stops, which is the one I chose, or 8 to 10 stops. Quite a number of people who just want to take it a bit more leisurely will choose to do 10-day itineraries. I choose to do 4 to 7. It's manageable for me, but there are people out there who like to do it over 4 days. 25-mile days. Hats off to you. That's not for me. Now, there is another time you might want to use a 1 to 3 stops itinerary, and that is if you're partway through a trip and you decide you don't want to carry your bags anymore. You can phone Baggage Freedom. I know, because I listened to a conversation for the wee man who was driving the minibus back from Fort William was having with a customer who decided they wanted to have their bags carried. And it was just as simple as writing on a bit of paper where you want to have your bags dropped off and leaving the money in a pocket where it could be found. So there's another way you can do it. Now, if you scroll down just below that, you'll see it talks about return transport. We don't just transport baggage, we can also transport you. Now, last year I chose to jump on a train. So I did it actually over 8 days if you want to look at it that way, because my final night I stayed in the Glen Nevis campsite just so I wasn't rushing into Fort William, and got the train the following morning. So the train cost £65. Now, when I looked at this, I thought that's too good a deal to turn down, because say my train journey was £65 and it took 4 hours and a bit to get from Fort William back down to Queen Street Station at Glasgow. Now, I know that journey by road doesn't take anywhere near 4 hours. However, the trip down by train, if you've never done it before, it's worthwhile. You'll see more deer, let's just say, on that train journey than you'll see on the whole trip. So I chose to take the Freedom package, multi-stop baggage transfers and return transport to Fort William, from Fort William to Mulgai, £95 per person. Now, I had wrongly thought that as part of that you could just get dropped off back at Buchanan Street bus station, which is a 2-minute walk from Queen Street's train station. I hadn't tagged that box, but I'll show you that when I go back in as if I had now. So it's usually £115 if booked separately, so £95 per person will save you £20. So let's go in and just click on book now. Oh, I made wee William Wallace get awful big there. So the Freedom Package, £95, return time, 1 day? Yeah, we're not wanting to take any longer than 1 day. Right, let's imagine that we're booking it coming back on the 11th of May, which is next month. And here's the box I missed out. Additional services. Return to Glasgow Buchanan Street, which is the bus station, or Glasgow Airport if you're an international traveller for an extra £10 per person. So we're going to tick that, because we're going to imagine that I want to get dropped back off at Buchanan Street bus station. Then I'll walk the 2 minutes down the hill to Queen Street train station and jump on a train back to Larbert, where I live. Now, initial bag pickup is in Mulgai train station. They were really punctual this year. They arrived bang on 8 o'clock, allowing me to get going on my trip. If you're dropping off your bags, it needs to be there between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning at Mulgai train station. So let's go to our day one. Now we're doing over 7 days, so our day one will be on the 5th of May. And then when you click on this first night overnight stop location, edit, click on the wee arrows below, and you'll see it brings up every single place that you could possibly think about staying on the West Highland Way. I stayed at Drimmen campsite. So there we go. Night one's booked. My bag's now going to be transferred from Mulgai train station to Drimmen camping into that fantastic lock-up they have. When you get sent the email, at the bottom of the email is any codes that you need to undo locks that they have as they go along. So night 2, we're now on to the 6th. And I stayed at Cashel. Now if you go down, they are actually sitting in the order that you'll come across them as you travel along the West Highland Way. That is if you're travelling from south to north. If it's north to south, you're going to have to do it in the other direction. So, worth noting, most people travel from Mulgai to Fort William, so I think this is the reason why they've done that. So I'm going to click on Cashel. I did want to stay at Salakey, but Salakey, Cashel campsite Balmaha, Cashel campsite Rowerdennan. They've actually put it in twice. I'll put it in as the Cashel campsite Rowerdennan. It'll not matter. It's the same campsite. Salakey campsite wasn't open this year in time for me booking it, which would put me 2 miles further along Loch Lomond. I like to get as far along Loch Lomond on the end of my day 2 as possible to make the northern end of Loch Lomond, which is a bit tricky, that little bit shorter. As it was, I booked into Cashel and it was 20 miles. So let's book in Cashel campsite. So, just to say that Salakey is now open for business. So if you're looking to book Salakey, you can do now. On to night 3, and I was staying at the fabulous Benglass campsite at, there we go, at Inverarnon. Well worth a stop if you're heading along the West Highland Way, especially if you only want to carry half the amount of clothes that you might need. Because Benglass, if you go to the bar and ask for tokens for the tumble dryer, and they'll give you a little container of washing liquid from behind the bar for, I think it was about £5. I was for the token and for the washing liquid, meaning I only had to carry half the amount of clothes, which was quite good. Right, on to night 4, which will be the 8th, and I stayed at the By the Way campsite in Tyndrum. Used to call it Tyndrum until somebody corrected me. By the Way campsite in Tyndrum. To me it's like Tyne and Weir down in England, but it's not, it's Tyndrum, that's how you say it. On to night 5, and that was the end of a very long day. Tyndrum to the Glencoe Mountain Resort over at King's House is a 20-mile day. So there we go, King's House, Glencoe Mountain Resort. And then for my final night, my final stay, which will be the 10th, I stayed at the Blackwater campsite, and you can see as I scroll down here, all the campsites are mentioned, the B&Bs, the independent youth hostels, all the places that they'll drop it off to are already on here. Right, and all I have to do now is go down to the bottom, add to cart. Didn't add any other additional information to add in. And this brings up everything that I've booked. So return date on the May the 11th, which is the Sunday. Return time 1 day, yep, one person. Booking service, return to Glasgow Buchanan Street for the extra £10. And then it just goes through my itinerary for the week and the dates that I'm going to be staying there. So I think that was a very straightforward way to do the baggage transfer. The only downside I found to using baggage transfer with the transport back was I had been walking with the fabulous Kim and Chad from Ohio, and no doubt they'll be watching this film. And I was so sorry that I was walking down Fort William High Street, and Kim had commented to me, wouldn't it be funny if you're doing the walk of shame and you're the last one to be getting in to drop off your bag as a baggage transfer? Because I had a text message from the guy who was driving the minibus back. And I said, no, there's no way I can be the last one in. Well, I was looking forward to stopping off with Chad and Kim in the Black Isle Brewery pub that sits right behind the wee man with the sore feet to enjoy the fabulous haggis pizza they do in there and a pint of lager shandy, which, if you've watched the series this year, I drank a few of them on the way. As it was, I got to the end. The Baggage Freedom minibus was there with 3 other passengers who'd already finished. I got my picture taken with the wee man with the sore feet and went to drop my bags off, hoping that I had time then to go and have something to eat before travelling down to Glasgow. It's a brilliant way to finish the trip, is to go and have something to eat and something to drink, because you will bump into all the people you've been chatting to along those 7 days. As it was, I dropped my bag to the guy and said, do I have time to go and get something to eat? He said, no, you're the last one in, we're going now. And it was a really quick and a bit sad way to finish the trail, just saying a quick cheerio to Kim and Chad, who I really wanted to celebrate with in the Black Isle Brewery pub. That was the only downside to this year's trip, and it got me back into Glasgow at about, it would have been just after 6 o'clock, and we left round about 3:30 from Fort William, so it was a very quick journey back to the start of the trip where my wife had driven, as I say, the 30 minutes through to pick me up. Anyway, this has been the best trip this year. The weather couldn't have been better. The company was fabulous all week. I do need to give another shout out to Helena, who was from Melbourne, who I also walked the first part of the trip with, who sadly, because she couldn't get the accommodation she wanted, had to leave us at Crianlarich. But yeah, fabulous trip this year, brilliant weather. The baggage transfer really did certainly help me enjoy the trip more. Didn't get a single blister on my feet. And it was a really smooth process, making sure that your bags were in for 9 o'clock in the morning. I had a little panic stations at Glencoe where I was flying my drone at 5 to 9. And I thought, oh, that's a shame, that van's kind of getting in the way of the shot. And then I had a panic because I hadn't put my bag into the baggage transfer and they were here to pick it up. So quickly landing drone, running up the car park with the bag to get it in time for 9 o'clock. If you're considering baggage transfer, it's a very simple process, as you see, in order to book it. And it's one that I can recommend if, for whatever reason, you don't want to carry your bags. Anyway, I'm going to leave you here. If you're booking the West Highland Way, enjoy it. It is a brilliant adventure. And all that remains for me to say is go and create your own adventures, and we'll see you on the next one.